shut down Xavier Johnson. Now he's become one of the better players in the Pac-12. How does the strategy with him change, and what do you have to draft?
Well, you've just got a very good player who's very confident right now. That big three had a really good game last time out. You got Scott and Johnson and Booker, who are all capable of 20-plus point nights, and we did a pretty good job defending up in Boulder that day. We didn't shoot the ball particularly well, but we got a key road win, and they've had some time to adjust now, being without two key players, and they're playing very well. And this is a team that's half game behind us, and overall and in the league. So this is two really good RPI teams. I think we're 19, they're 25, so it's a great matchup. And it's like any time in this league, when you're this time of year, you got to play well, and we're going to have to play well. But Johnson's playing very, very well right now.
And how's Bryce doing with the ankle?
Seems to be good. Practiced really well yesterday. Everybody was healthy yesterday, and so he's responded very well from that.
When your team loses a guy like Spencer and everything, there's pretty much it usually goes two different ways drastically.
That's the way I give Coach, Ted's a terrific job. Coach Boyle and his staff have done a terrific job of, because you're right, it can go either way with it. And then you got to give the players credit because they've had other guys step up. You've had Booker go from about 14 a game to 17 a game. You've got Johnson, who's gone from about 11 a game to 18 a game. They've done a really good job of just manning up and asking more themselves, and that's not always an easy thing to do, especially in a league like this year where the league's up. So I just think their staff and their players have done a really good job of not just keeping things status quo, but actually moving things forward.
Kyle has turned the ball over a little bit more frequently lately. Is that a concern at all, or is it the fact that he's getting so many assists you kind of get some of that?
16, 8, and 7. So, he's not going to be at 0, 1, or 2 assists all the time. I think I've talked to him about it. I think some of his turnovers come late in the game when he really wants. You got to give him credit. He wants you to foul him. He wants to have the ball, but he holds it just a little bit too long, and that's where really most of his turnovers are coming. They're coming in the last 3 or 4 minutes of the game where I think he stops attacking, stops moving the ball and running the show, and we've talked about that, but he definitely won't have the ball any less. If anything down the stretch here, he's going to have it more. He's having a terrific season. I think he had a couple question marks coming into the season, and he's done nothing but just prove all those question marks wrong. His shooting ability, he's shooting 50% from 3. He's just a really difficult matchup, and he's been a huge catalyst for us. So, you're right. He's gone through some games where he's had some high turnover games. It seems like every time he's had high turnover games, he's still had more assists. So he's doing a very good job that way.
Have you and the staff emphasized things about tightening up his handle a little bit more, and how much is that?
Not really. No, not really. Again, the only thing we've talked to him about is late game. I think he just wants he wants the ball in his hands to make plays, which is a great trait, and we want him to have that. But when you're late in the game and people are trapping you and just gambling, and you can foul and kind of get away with it in the last 4 minutes just because of the time and score and how the ebb and flow of the game's going, it gets a little bit more aggressive during that time. Those are the things we've really talked to him about it. But his in-game play has been terrific.
Norman's shots, I think it's up like 25% finishing at the rim. Seems like he's consciously trying to get to the rim a lot more than he has in past years. So something you guys talked to him about at the beginning of the season?
Well, I think he's a big-time driver. For one, I think he really got big hands. He's got great hands, but it's hard to take it from him because he's so big and strong, and that's his strength, is driving the ball to the basket. And complement that now with making jump shots like he did against USC. He's starting to catch and pivot better instead of that jump stop, and that's just a way of thinking about how to shoot the basketball and a form of shooting, and kind of been. He's used to one way, and we've kind of reconstructed it, and we want him to get back to catch and pivoting, and that's really set up his drive game, and he's drove it hard. He's getting to the free throw line, he's getting out. I like it when those guys get out in transition. Zach should get 1 or 2 layups a game. Same thing with Norman, same way with Jordan, and that adds up to about 6 layups a game when they get out and run. Then that sets up the rest of their games, and Norman's done a really good job with that. Norman's been very consistent for us.
How much does driving like that have to do with confidence? Is a lot of it have to do with that, or?
No, I think you just know what your strengths are, and you always want to play to your strengths. And Whether that's foul shooting, you want to learn how to get fouled. If that's three-point shooting, you got to learn how to get yourself open to shoot three-point shots. If it's driving or you're a post guy, you got to know what your strengths are. And I think Norman understands his greatest strength is, one, when he's in the open floor, and two, when he's driving the ball, attacking the rim. Then that sets up the other parts of his game because people start backing off of him, and now he's starting to knock down the jump shot. And if he starts knocking down the jump shot consistently, then you've got a guard that's got that full package, and obviously he's going to get better, and we're going to get better.
When he's playing like this, do you try to get him the ball a little bit more maybe in the stretch since he's done so well and been so efficient lately?
The ball just kind of moves. It's we don't really, we'll go to guys that are kind of hot and, in the flow and in the rhythm, and but we look at matchups probably more than anything else and who we want to exploit on the other team because we got confidence in not just all of our guards, but those 8 guys that are playing. We got confidence that they can hurt people. We thought Dave and Travis could do some things on the perimeter against USC, and in the second half that happened. They really got to moving and made some shots and brought their bigs out on the floor, which I thought was going to help us. And so it's all kind of game to game. But obviously, if there's a player that's hot, you want to try to use him as much as you can. I think that's why you saw. That's how the minutes kind of flow. We stayed with that starting unit to start the second half a lot longer than we typically do. We went almost 9 minutes before we subbed in the second half just because that group was on a really big roll.
What's your feeling been on how the charge blocking foul has been called this season?
That's always been one of the most difficult calls in the game. They've gone with the restricted arc now to try to help, and I don't know if that's help or hindered the situations. Officials would probably be better to ask with that, but it's just a really tough call. The new rules of emphasis is now once I start my movement, if you slide under, it's an automatic block. And I think getting consistency on that is always going to be a hard thing to do. That the official has to now look at, are the feet outside the arc? Were they there before I started my movement? All those type of things. There's a lot to look at with a game that's so fast and physical.
Especially with that one charge that Jordan was called for at the end of that Oregon State game, was that one of those situations where it's kind of that gray area that rule is?
Well, I think it was tough. We've talked to Jordan about it. I thought it was a great move on Jordan's part. I think he was by the defender, which was key, but I also thought he lowered his shoulder. And if you lower your shoulder, it brings in, it's always going to be a judgment call. And so when you lower your shoulder, you kind of bring that judgment into play. So it's a tough call. It could have gone either way, but I don't look at it as a bad call and that cost us anything. I think it was Jordan made a good play. If he makes that play again, we just said, hey, just go right to the rim, don't lower his shoulder. But he made a great play. It wasn't anything other than him making a really good play, and the defender did a nice job of stepping in and trying to take a charge.